Peace. Quick little think fast. Happy now, of course. Take what resonate, leave what don't. But really, it ain't like no long video. But I caught the vibe just now that a lot of like say for instance with what's his name Osho. I don't know if you're familiar with the little docu series that they had on Netflix called I think it was called Wild Wild Country. But you got that aspect, and then you got all these different cults in general that get put on blast, you know, uh, by media, to make these things look crazy and and unnormal. But I thought about how uh, they also push this agenda of making this way of life seem crazy, because they know that eventually we're gonna be moving to, again, I don't know, cult like, well, oh yeah, everybody think the same, act the same, but we're gonna be moving into environments and communities where we are, say for instance, more educated about our soul and spiritual being. Therefore, we'll be more open towards things that the egoic mind is not ready for and open to. Therefore, the egoic mind will judge it as, oh, that's something crazy, or that's something off the wall. But like I think about like the openness on a sexual level, like because again, on a divine level, a woman or a man should be able to be, naked in front of each other without it having to just be like all about sexual and all about, oh, you a piece of meat. Now that I see you naked, we got to get it on. You know what I'm saying? Like, uh, we move into a place of, exercising that freedom of, and I just think of it in the context of nudity, just being without clothes, but as an aspect of again connecting with spirit, because again that's a release of the ego. Like nothing dissolves the ego, because think about it like this: the main reason why you wouldn't want to, like, oh, I'm not taking off my clothes or this and that, you know what I'm saying? And of course, like as I'm saying this, I know the levels of ego. I don't watch myself go through all vibes of it. Like I done been in a vibe to back, oh bro, fuck this shit. Like bro, it's my bodysuit, man. I'm a soul on a human experience. Fuck, I ain't gonna have this bodysuit all of my existence. So hey, here it is. And then you could allow for that ego to seep in, like, oh no, I just don't want to get naked anywhere. Type of vibe. But all these vibes in essence helps to break down the egoic mind, in a sense of like, where our identity makes us rigid and keeps us in a certain comfort zone, and keeps us from expanding into different levels of consciousness. But again, just seeing the aspect of like how media, and of course we know who behind the media, but basically just realizing that they've been setting up for this change as far as like making cults and certain aspects of being open sexually as something crazy or something, being over sexual, when it's really not. Because in the wild wild country, they painted, in which of course the vibes dealing with that may have somewhat of a cult like energy to it, but I ain't talking about the aspect. I'm just talking about the aspect of being free. Like what I'm speaking of, the aspect of being free on a sexual level, but also being open enough to, like, to be quote unquote naked in front of each other, but to be without without clothes, and without it being like something that's like, you know what I'm saying? But because again, I always bring up the aspect of the indigenous, beings across the world, where the women or men, have little to no clothes on, but the people, not like sitting there overly fantasizing, like, oh look, her breasts is open, or she ain't even got her her little leaf skirt on today. Or looking at the man, and looking at him, it's like there's no vice versa of that, sexual what it is, objectivity, but that sexual vibe of looking at each other like just sexual objects. That isn't present in these places where they rock more naturally, where they don't wear clothes, or like how I know like my breast is taboo. You can't see my breasts because they my breasts. You know what I'm saying? Of course, and that's another thing too. Of course, we have this level of this level of individuality with our bodysuit, of course, because like when I get hungry, you know what I'm saying, I gotta put the spoon in my mouth instead of somebody else's mouth. Like we all are one. But when it comes to feeding this bodysuit, or just dealing with this bodysuit in general, it's me taking care. Like it's some level of individuality, in essence. But again, these certain aspects breaking down the ego. Matter of fact, like I think about Shatam Nityama talking about, again, how like at one time it was more so like you didn't really have like, oh, that's my daddy or whatever. More so like the men in the village was like, like all uncle, and one of them could possibly be your daddy. The mom knew in essence, but say for instance, knowing your father in essence was I ain't gonna say irrelevant, but to some extent, that's like the egoic mind aspect of like, hey, for one, the true essence of knowing where you're coming from is knowing who your mom is. So, the fact that you see that, and it's a fact that our DNA lineage travels through our mind mitochondria. So, on a logical reasoning would make sense that, all right, we're not even worried about attaching the man's last name or knowing who the dad is anyway, because the child is coming out of the mom, and the child is carrying the DNA imprint of the mom. You know what I'm saying? So, and again, and this where the ego of the man kind of get all pissed off and like, oh, so you saying I ain't shit and I'm just a sperm donor? Nah, we're not saying that, but source on so many levels is like what is what is. You know what I'm saying? The fact that a female could actually create another human being inside of her, and we don't. The fact that a female can have a orgasm up to 3 to 2 hours, you know what I'm saying, and we don't. It just the universe has spoken. You know what I'm saying? So as much as you want to like, oh, but no, the man, and the man, and again, this is not to put the woman above the man. I'm speaking on just the actuality of what it is with the way we're made up and how we how we reproduce, and on a sexual level, again, like on a reproductive level and sexual level, the female has she's more equipped to deal with sex and reproducing, and I say more, but to some extent, you know what I'm saying? Like again, like a man ejaculate once and matter of fact and had that orgasm, it's like shit, you out of commission for a little second compared to a woman that could kind of constantly back to back orgasms. You know what I'm saying? Here it is, a woman could, like where a man got to worry about not ejaculating and not, wasting this Christ seed all, which again, this is something that you don't have to be on the extreme about, but to each his own, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, you definitely don't want to be wasting, your semen like that. But that solar phallic light. But like how a woman, could, she's able to masturbate without, losing no type of energy, and if anything, masturbating and creating some type of little magic, amplifying some manifestation with a little womb magic in essence, but you see all these different aspects. But again, where was I? Oh, just seeing how again, like I just caught this vibe when I was scrolling on my Instagram and I scrolled by a picture of a queen, got the body out, and I think about a queen I resonated with, you know what I'm saying, where you know, where she was very open about her being, and and being, and more so to be open around me, and not have no sexual, and just long story short, a sister and being able to get naked around me, without me, pushing on those sexual type of vibes, you know what I'm saying? Like, and she, and when she expressed that to me, like, like that feel good to be able to be, naked and be free on that level without a male objectifying and looking at you as just a piece of meat, you know what I'm saying? Now, of course, I let her know, like, hey, queen, your bodysuit, bodysuit very nice, you know what I'm saying? But I definitely could, you know, keep myself from objectifying your being, because again, because you feel it on the empath level. It's like, bro, if I wanted to be naked, like if that's my thing on that level, like, you know what I'm saying, like, well, just feeling free and being free because I've been objectified so much, on a mutual aspect, I understand that, so I wouldn't want to, disrupt that freedom or that energy, you know. But again, just seeing how, like, with the movie like No Country, or the docu-series No Country, not No Country for Old Men, Wild Wild Country, where they make this, this, in which it wasn't just about them being open sexually, but that was one of the aspects pointed out in there. But like, like just being open about our sexuality and about our being, on that level, we're moving more to that. And since, certain people got wind of what's going on, what I'm saying, to some extent, they placing these little social engineering situations of making people scared. And what's funny is, they making people scared of, or trying to make people scared of this aspect, and make these things like, oh yeah, this is a cult like behavior and this and that, when praising the Catholic Church and things of this nature, when that's really the true cult. And what's funny is, whoever presented, it could almost be looked at as the pot calling the kettle black. And that's a little saying where, as far as like the pot calling the kettle black, like one thing that's already black trying to call something else black. They both the same, y'all both look alike. But like, when you watch the Wild Wild Country, and it basically, Osho moved this little, or had this little combine, whatever you want to call it, in Oregon, and the people that lived in that area was some old fashioned Christian type of people, like all these people, this and that, like showing how, even though they're not considered a cult themselves, like their ideals are cult like, because they're not open minded, they don't look outside of the realm of what they were taught, growing up, by this strict, Christianity vibe. So like, whoever made this made it on some, like, I don't know, like, where you could see where, as much as they made it to be serious in certain aspects indirectly, and maybe that's too because you see things different when you're pioneer open, so maybe somebody else watching it won't probably get it like how I got it. But it just, when I watched it, just really put on blast, like, just certain insanities. So as much as it would seem as the movie is putting like Osho and the little vibe of his little community on blast, like, it was also really, really putting on blast like the ignorance of America, and more so like with the Christian European vibes of just being closed-minded towards cultures and energies that existed before the Bible and Christianity, you know what I'm saying, in essence. So it's just a cool aspect. But just seeing that, like, where they're trying to make these vibes seem all crazy and and insane, and again, with us being open on a body level, being uh again, because that does break down the ego, on some levels, on a lot of levels, shit, sexual energy. I would even, again, I'm not saying I'm in support of this per se, but I understand, like, it's something that you may not support, but I get the sauce behind it. Like, I understand why they do it, like with sex orgies, I'm not into being sexually deviant in that sense, and say sexually deviant, but, just like, oh, willy-nilly, like, just sexing with any and everything, you know what I'm saying, just for the sake of breaking down my ego, you know what I'm saying, but like, like, and when I say this, again, I am not saying I support these acts in this sense, but I get it, like, I feel like, cause say for instance, like, and they made fun of this on, what this was, the Zohar, or I forgot what movie, Zoolander or something like that. But well, the brethren would have orgies, and every time he had an orgy, like, there was all kind of different people, and like, but also like they had a little donkey present, like animals. I'm not condoning touching no animal at all, because again, dealing with that behavior that also comes again from sexual deviant, and to some extent, sick behavior, you know what I'm saying, as far as, we have a reincarnation process of like, hey, I'm here in a human body, and I'm not here in this human body to fuck horses and dogs, you know what I'm saying, to be blunt with it, you know what I'm saying, like, but in that dysfunctional aspect of being, as far as like, again, having sex with animals, I could see how that could break down. Because if you're able to have sex with animals and any and everybody, and be comfortable with that, like, there, like, you just, like, there's no identity, for you, like, it's like, shit, fuck it, but at the same time, it'll still be some probably identity where you're identifying with those sex orgies like that all the time. So I mean, again, I'm speaking in the aspect of using it to dissolve the ego, but like, when I think of aspects of, certain acts where, like, I ain't gonna say where it embarrasses your ego, but like, it takes away that embarrassment level, so now, like, say for instance, when I felt like when I got naked in the mountains, from that point I felt like I got some type of power, because at that point, I felt like, hey, like, say for instance, how they do other people in media, like, hey, we're gonna put out a naked picture of so and so, or we're gonna put out a picture of this person when they a sex tape or this and that. But it's like, those little things, because again, that's ego, that's power over your identity, because what they're doing is like, all right, hey, we're gonna, since they identify as a person that, doesn't do this or that, we're gonna put this little picture of them doing this or that, you know what I'm saying, and it's gonna, shred their image, because they identify with this certain particular aspect, compared to where, with me, like, shit, I got naked in the mountain. So if, like, say for instance, like, Corey, if you don't, Universal, you don't stop making videos on people and awaken people, we're gonna put out this naked picture of you. Well, go the fuck on. Matter of fact, print an extra one for me, motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Like, on that level, and you know what I'm saying? You get what I'm speaking on, as far as that aspect of just, dissolving the ego. Because the idiot, the call it for what it see, like, the idiotic aspect of, like, being one-minded looking at this video. Oh, so you trying to say the being naked and fucking animals is it? I clearly stated everything as I was stating it, and you start to realize how much people who have those type of comments or things that, like, where they try to take what you said out of context, are literally, that's all they see is just like, I just want to be some type of troll or just take whatever they said out of context. Because if you sit here and watch and listen to everything I said, I clearly stated everything as I've been going, you know what I'm saying? So for you to miss, something, I'm not saying, again, I don't know how many times, I'm not supporting dealing with no animals. I'm not pushing to each his own on if you're you know, bisexual, homosexual, whatever, teaches on that, but I'm not pushing that agenda. I'm not pushing, you know, having sex with animals, but I'm saying again, and I spoke on the Hellfire Club with you know, where you got like Benjamin Franklin was a part of it, but it's like a little cult, little sex club. But again, I see where, you know, that having orgies just all willy nilly in some kind of essence could dissolve the ego. You know what I'm saying? But you know, I wouldn't go through, how can I say, put myself through dysfunctional aspects just to get rid. It's almost like saying I'm gonna put mud on myself to clean myself to some extent. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like with the dealing with animals type of thing. It's like, you know what I'm saying? There's so many other aspects to dissolve our ego. You know what I'm saying? That you know, that wouldn't be a no, you don't have to track down that pathway. You know, like that is again something created through you know, dysfunctional sexual deviance. You know, and to each his own. You know, because again, as much as I'm speaking from the 3D, you know, aspect of it, like on a higher dimensional level, you know, this is just a fucking experience in bodysuits. You know what I'm saying? Not condoning that behavior, but I do understand again that this is a big ass universe with multiple dimensions. You know, one man's God is another man's devil. You know, one man's one man one man's horse and one man's vehicle is another man's sex figure. Oh man, I'm joked out, but you know, again, and two, that's me being me as far as like I speak on subject like all that old, oh, that's taboo, or we don't want to talk about this or this and that. Like we'll joke about this behind closed doors, but I would never put this on a video and this and that. But that's why I made sure I clear it up, you know. And plus, again, this is not a soundbite. Like, you know, look at all my other videos and all the other things I speak on to, you know. But even if you took this as a soundbite, I've spoken strategically in such a manner that you wouldn't be able to reverse anything that I said in this video. You know, but again, it's all started from again speaking on being you know, open and again how the media may portray this to be some old sex cult crazy stuff. But when we're actually moving to a place where we're being more open sexually, and again, not saying dealing with animals or just you know, forcing you know, bisexual or homosexual natures upon ourselves just for the sake of breaking down the ego. Nah. But again, I see the little sauce and how that might work for people that are comfortable in that realm of reality. That's the best way to say it. But, you know, again, and as much as I say teach his own, again, the reality of it, in essence, is, you know, it's a balance. You know, we're not treating sex like, oh, it's something to be scared of, and you know, sex like, oh no, you know, like, and it's not to be like, oh shit, I'm about to fuck everybody in this motherfucker. And then, you know what I'm saying, and be on that vibe with it either. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's a balance, and at the end of the day, that balance is in connection with your unique soul spark. You know, because as above, so below. Some of our soul sparks might come from the area of the body, from the genital area, where we're more in tune with that sexual energy and more comfortable with going into them depths. You know, like a Scorpio energy. Some of us come from an area of the body with a heart at, and we're more heartfelt, and we want sex to be more of a heartfelt thing. You know, it's some of us that come from, you know what I'm saying, different aspects of the being. You know, some of us feel that being celibate is the best way for our being. You know what I'm saying? Like the area of the crown chakra, you know, cells in the crown chakra, like, you know, like no physical sex. You know, to each his own. I definitely just wanted to share that. Peace. Happy now. Now is a vibrative course. Not going too far in the future. Not going too far in the past. Right now. And I'm about to say, and you know, lastly saying again, because this is all about questioning, you know, all the things that we were taught, you know, on any side of the spectrum. If you was taught to be over sexual, is questioning that aspect and seeing if it, you know, if you shouldn't be being celibate, or you know, like looking into that aspect of it, or if you celibate, you know, being open to seeing like, all right, well maybe I should be, you know, connecting with sex more, because I do feel like I'm being fearful and shut myself down in some type of way, you know. But it's again for us to, you know, just openly, you know, analyze the situation, and you know, making sure we're not stuck in a way of what we were taught, you know, and just going with the flow of what I was taught, just because that's what I was taught, and that's the safest way, is to just go with what's already been given, instead of exploring other aspects that may be the actual truth, uh, in a in a way I should be really dealing with it, you know. So again, just, you know, being open to, not too open to where you're gullible, and just like, you know, again, open minded, you know, because some things we shutting down due to teachings in the subconscious, and it may not be for us to really shut this down. Like we kind of just going with the shutdown mode just because we comfortable in keeping the old ways of the things we were taught, you know. So peace again, y'all. Happy now.